Haley Anderson, a 22-year-old university student, was studying at Binghamton University in a city with the same name in Broome County, which has a population of about 200,000 and sees approximately 5 to 6 murders annually. According to the County District Attorney's Office, on the night of Wednesday, March 7, 2018, Haley attended a party on campus with her friends. They all parted ways before morning, and Haley did not show up the next day. Wednesday and Thursday passed with no sign of her. On Friday, after several unsuccessful attempts to contact her, her friends and roommates decided to take action and search for her. They attempted to trace her phone to find out where she went and who might be behind her disappearance. Did Haley disappear on her own? Or is there someone else missing as well? Haley was a kind girl who loved to laugh and have fun. She had many friends at the university. One of her friends described her as sensitive and caring. She lived with her mother Karen and her sister in New York before moving to Binghamton to study nursing. Her mother Karen said she was very sad when Haley moved away but didn't want to stop her from pursuing what she loved. Haley had been studying for 4 years and was in her final year, preparing for her graduation. Her mother was planning a celebration in New York to mark her graduation and return. Karen said Haley was very happy and had already contacted a hospital for a job after graduation. Haley had prepared a long guest list for the party they were planning to host in New York. After several unsuccessful attempts to contact her, her friends decided to trace her phone to find her location. They discovered that her phone was in Orlando's house. Haley and Orlando had an unstable relationship. Haley had a previous boyfriend before Orlando, and when that relationship ended temporarily, Orlando seized the opportunity to get close to her. Haley told Orlando she didn't intend to continue their relationship and that it wouldn't last long. However, Orlando seemed to have stronger feelings for Haley and couldn't accept the idea of her leaving him and returning to her first boyfriend. He kept following her and trying to get close to her repeatedly. Orlando had shown hostile behavior before, being suspected of slashing Haley's car tires on September 16, 2017, causing about $600 in damages. The police report included some details about Haley and Orlando's relationship. They had dated briefly, and on September 15, 2017, Haley attended a party at Orlando's house, where he confronted her about her new relationship with a mutual friend. According to the police report, the confrontation went as follows. Orlando yelled at Haley and then offered her alcohol in an attempt to calm things down. Haley refused to press charges against Orlando for slashing her tires, fearing it would affect his university studies. She cared for him as a colleague and friend, but that wasn't the place he wanted to hold in her life. Their on and off relationship lasted about a year and a half, and according to her friends, Haley wanted to end the romantic relationship with Orlando and remain just friends. Her friends headed to Orlando's house. After knocking on the door several times without a response, they decided to enter the house through a window. The house was quiet, with no movement or sound. The girls, filled with fear of what they might find, entered. Initially, they found bloodstains on the living room floor, increasing their anxiety. They entered the bedroom to find Haley on the bed, her body pale with visible blue bruises. They thought she was sleeping and tried to wake her, but she did not respond, so they immediately called the police. The police arrived with paramedics who informed them that she had passed away. Fortunately, there were cameras clearly showing the entrance of Orlando's house, and he hadn't erased the recordings. The footage showed that in the early hours of Wednesday, March 8th, Orlando returned home with Haley, who appeared intoxicated. About 7 hours later, Orlando left the house alone, returning and leaving multiple times without Haley. Eventually, he drove to John F. Kennedy International Airport and took a flight to Nicaragua. The investigation of the house revealed that Orlando had possibly attempted suicide by hanging but failed. The blood on the floor was his from when he fell during the attempt. Investigators found a handwritten note in Spanish, written, "I'm really sorry, Dad. I'll join you soon." His father had died 5 years before the crime. It seemed Orlando was remorseful for a grave mistake and felt immense guilt. Orlando had already left the country. He was a dual citizen of the US and Nicaragua, and a nursing student. After the incident, leaving the US posed a significant problem for the district attorney, knowing that Nicaragua wouldn't extradite one of its citizens to the US for a murder investigation. The police issued a statement that day. The victim and the student had a previous romantic relationship. The investigation concluded that the suspect left the US on an international flight before Haley Anderson's body was discovered at his home. Airport cameras in Nicaragua showed that Orlando's mother picked him up from the airport. He appeared in bad shape with a bandage on his head. On Sunday, March 11th, Orlando was officially named a suspect by the Binghamton Police Department, who noted he had fled to Nicaragua. Broome County District Attorney Steve Cornwell said his office would seek an indictment from a grand jury in this case, and once granted, they would issue a warrant for the suspect's arrest. According to Cornwell, the warrant would be submitted to the U.S. State Department, requesting the Nicaraguan government to extradite Orlando. The district attorney's office sent authorities to Nicaragua, announcing they had a suspect in a murder case and wanted him extradited for trial. So a group of American investigators traveled there to either arrest him or at least urge Nicaraguan authorities to detain him. In Broome County on March 7th, Orlando was charged with second-degree murder, which could mean a life sentence if convicted. The district attorney of Broome County officially issued an arrest warrant for him. Meanwhile, family and friends gathered to bid farewell to Haley at her funeral. It was a sad and emotional goodbye for a young woman whose life had just begun. Her mother Karen said, "At that moment, everything became blurry. I don't remember the details of the funeral. I don't remember anything." The mother chose to have her daughter's body cremated so that her ashes could be placed in an urn in her room, explaining that she wanted to feel like her daughter was still present in their home. Orlando was arrested by the National Police on Tuesday, March 8th, at De Leon Hospital. He had entered the country on Friday, March 4th, at 3:55 p.m. After killing Haley, he attempted suicide and was placed in a psychiatric hospital upon his arrival in Nicaragua. After being arrested at the hospital, he was transferred to the Judicial Assistance Directorate, also known as El Chipote. As expected, Nicaraguan authorities did not extradite their citizen and decided to try him in Nicaragua. The Nicaraguan court set the trial proceedings and asked the prosecutor from Broome County to present witnesses as needed. The first day of testimony lasted all day on October 1st, but the judge did not resume the trial until Friday. Haley's mother traveled to Nicaragua to attend the trial with a group of witnesses to confront her daughter's killer. She remarked, "What upset me was that he seemed indifferent and bored by the trial. I was also saddened because he strangled my daughter and witnessed her last breaths without any pity or mercy." One of the investigators said, "He is a troubled young man and a danger to society. If he hadn't killed Haley, he would have killed someone else." Binghamton Police investigator Carl Peters testified that Haley went to Orlando's house voluntarily that morning to hang out with him. He noted that the last text message she responded to was around 3:15 a.m. Later that morning, surveillance video showed Orlando leaving the house to buy over-the-counter sleeping pills and melatonin, which is used to promote healthy sleep. During the initial sweep of the crime scene, police found a blood-stained blanket on the floor between the kitchen and dining area in Orlando's residence. Peters stated that there was evidence of a head injury and testified, "I believe Orlando injured himself while attempting to hang himself in the entryway between the kitchen and dining area." He added that the police also believe sleeping pills were used in the attempt. Binghamton Police Officer Christy Sager testified that Orlando's sister called 911 after receiving a concerning text message from him on the morning of March 9, 2018. The text read, "I'm sorry for everything." Fearing for her brother's safety, his sister asked the police to check on him. Initially, The police found no sign of him at the house but returned later that day after Haley's friends discovered her body in Orlando's bedroom. Dr. James Terzian, a forensic pathologist at Lourdes Hospital in Binghamton, testified that there were numerous findings in Haley's autopsy, prompting some loved ones in the courtroom to cry. Among the findings were finger marks on her neck. Terzian stated that there was manual strangulation and ligature strangulation due to the necklace she was wearing at the time. The autopsy was conducted on March 10, 2018, and Terzian estimated the time between Haley's death and the autopsy to be between 36 to 48 hours. The motive behind the crime was jealousy and possessiveness. Orlando wanted a more serious relationship with the victim, which she did not want, leading him to kill her. In the testimony of the victim's friends, one stated that Orlando was obsessed with her. During his trial in Nicaragua, Orlando was charged with the deliberate murder of Haley and first appeared in court in September 2019. Orlando was convicted of murder despite his lawyer's attempt to argue that he was under the influence of alcohol and unaware of his actions. He faced a sentence ranging from 25 to 30 years in one of Nicaragua's prisons and was ultimately sentenced to 30 years, which he will serve in one of the country's most overcrowded facilities. His appeal for a reduced sentence was denied in March 2020. Orlando still faces a second-degree murder charge in Broome County if the future district attorney decides to request his extradition after he completes his 30-year sentence in Nicaragua. So what do you think, dear viewers? Do you think it is worth it for a young man to take a girl's life and spend the rest of his life in prison in the name of love?